Today on the podcast, we have Lisa Alexander. And I think when I first started this podcast, she was one of the first people that I actually hit up about it. Because I really was really interested to kind of talk to her about really just sort of like her journey. Because she lived in Japan, she lived on the East Coast. She's kind of been all over the world in some respects. What I really admired about it is that she's always just doing something. She's always going someplace. She's always traveling. She's always exploring. She's always experiencing other cultures. And so, it was just great to just sit down and just talk to her for a little while and see sort of like what the mindset was for her to really pursue all these different things. And so, we dive a little bit into like what she does, but it's really about just kind of finding that purpose and overcoming obstacles and hassles to really pave a smooth path for yourself. I joke about her being on the podcast because this is her first podcast, and often I try to tell people like it's just a casual conversation. I'm just genuinely curious about things, and it does throw me off a little bit when people are like really, really nervous, because I know I've been in that position before, and it's crazy to be on the other side of it. And so I made a promise that she would be one of the latter guests of this season of the podcast, and I'm excited that she was able to be a part of it. And so, without further ado, let's get it started. So obviously, you're probably working from home as well?
I am. I'm fortunate. I'm able to work from home.
Oh, nice. And so, what are you doing now?
I am working at a law firm. I'm in accounting and payroll. So it's like a hybrid role of accounting and HR, human resources. My job is to make sure everybody gets paid. So I spend a lot of time moving money around to employees, to vendors, managing benefits. And I spent the last 9 months moving my role paperless. So essentially it's been a remote process for a while now.
So you're kind of ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Our firm actually just stayed really current. We could do everything online. We could do Skype. I have monitors, everything already set up at my house.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm fortunate. My company thought about, just paperless in general was always really something they focused on. But, yeah.
Huh, interesting.
Been there for 4 years.
Okay. What were you doing before you got there?
So before that, I was a payroll specialist at a staffing firm, small business staffing from over in Alberta. And I do some recruitment, HR as well. They were a Black-owned business, which was nice. But yeah, I did that for a while. And that was actually my first full-time job when I moved back to Portland. So yeah.
Okay. And so you've kind of been in the finance and the HR in that sort of area this pretty much your whole career?
Yeah, for the better part of 10 years, I initially worked in hospitality. So restaurants, hotels. My first job was at Disney in Orlando.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's what I really enjoy, is just experiences, people, food. And there I was managing German Pavilion, so the entire German restaurant area in Epcot. And that was a lot of fun. And I learned a lot. And when I came back to Portland, I really wanted stability, because that industry is definitely volatile. Long hours, crazy days.
Yeah, and you're dealing with people.
Yeah, and I love people. I do love people a lot, but it's a high stress, restaurants, theme parks. It's a lot. Amber Alerts. People lose their kids.
Oh, dang, yeah, yeah. I could only imagine that.
Yeah.
And so, how did the whole like Disney World thing sort of come about? Was it something that you applied for, or like was it an internship, or was it like how did that kind of come about?
So I went to school in Washington, D.C. I attended Howard University,
Okay.
and I was in the school of business. My major was hospitality. So I like people, I love to travel, I love experiences and events. And what they do is they have different info sessions and events. They'll bring a bunch of Fortune 100 and 500 companies out, and they'll do these like lightning rounds of mass interviews with all these companies. And so I interviewed for like 10 different companies, and Disney ended up, and they offered me a job on the spot. And so it's one of those situations where you have like a month or so to decide, but when you graduate, they want you to work with them.
Okay.
So I said yes, and through a bunch of random events, I ended up going out there after I graduated for my first job. And it's nice because it comes with like a mentorship program, and there's like business management classes you get to take. But it's a lot. And when I moved to Portland, I just really wanted something that was consistent and stable. But what's dope is at Disney, in Epcot, they have different countries around the world. And what I didn't know is that all of the international people you see, they're not Americans in costumes. They're actually cultural representatives on visas. They're on year-long visas, and they will represent the country. They speak fluent, in their language. So you're getting true experiences. So I had 70 employees who were German. A lot of good food.
Huh. So was there ever sort of like this connection to where you ended up with in sort of the German camp, or was it just kind of like how it kind of happened?
So what happens is when you apply for Disney, and so just to make sure I understand it, you want to know like how I ended up at the German Pavilion?
Yeah.
So when you're interviewing and they're looking at you, they see you in person, but they're looking at your resume, they're looking at your life experiences, your collegiate experiences. And when I was a junior in college, I studied abroad in Japan.
Ooh, nice.
So I lived in Japan for half a year. It was amazing. I taught English while I was out there, took a bunch of classes. I traveled a lot. And when I came back to Howard, I have that on my resume. So I think they look for people that are international, adventurous, work well with other people, can work with international people. And so I think I was selected for that position specifically because of my background. And so they offer to you, and if you accept it, then they'll pair you at these events. Yeah.
Man. Okay, so it was kind of like they saw sort of the talents and the opportunities and sort of who you were, and then they put you in a position where they thought you would be the most successful.
Yes,
okay.
Definitely.
Okay. And so you mentioned Japan. Like me myself, I've always wanted to go to Japan. I mean, any sort of millennial that's watched anime or anything like that has always wanted to go there. And so first, like what led you to want to study abroad there?
So it's actually a funny story. I didn't want to study abroad there initially. That wasn't on my mind. Ever since I was in high school, I knew I wanted to study abroad when I got to college. But I always thought I'd go to somewhere Spanish speaking, like Spain, because, I took Spanish all through, like anybody. A lot of people, you take Spanish like middle school and high school.
Yep.
I was very familiar with Spanish. So I had always planned to go to Spain. My sophomore year, you apply for studying abroad like a year before. There's a huge application process, and then you'll start that following fall. The deadline's usually in the springtime. And my sophomore year, I was online I was pledging in business fraternity. And so I pledged in the spring, and I was online, and we couldn't leave DC. for that spring break. They wanted us to stay and like focus on our school. We had projects. And while I was out there, a couple of my like friends that were out there with me, we all decided to fill out our applications. And you run out of a lot of time when you're like in school, you're online, you have projects, you're also probably volunteering. I was on the board for like the hospitality organization out there. I was a treasurer, and I was also working part-time. So you have a limited amount of time. And so when someone suggests something, you just do it. You knock it out. And because they mentioned that, the International Business School was open, we went down there, filled out our applications. And in that moment, I was going to fill out Spain, like check the box. I sat there thinking, like, why don't I be adventurous, try something new? And I loved a lot of Asian food. I loved a lot of action movies. And, I liked Ip Man. I loved Jackie Chan. I loved all of that. So I was like, you know what? I really admire how the Asian culture, they seem very poised, very, focused. They hone in their skills. They seem very calm and control their emotions. And in that moment, I was like, no, I'm going to choose Japan and try something new. When else can I do this,
Okay. And so, like, how was that experience? Because obviously you didn't know Japanese. And so...
No, I didn't. I've been speaking Spanish this whole time.
Yeah, so, like, you knew Spanish, and you ended up in Japan. And how long were you there?
I was there for half a year.
Okay, so 6 months. Like, how did you sort of navigate? Like, what was it like, sort of going there and not knowing Japanese, but end up in, going to school there? Like,
so mind you, I'm not afraid of adventures. I'm from Portland. I was born in Portland. But I've been traveling my whole life. My mom's from St. Thomas. She's from the Virgin Islands. So I've been traveling since I was really young, which is why moving from Portland to D.C. to go to college was nothing. I like adventures. So in the spring, I decided I would go to Japan. When I came home to Portland in the summertime, I had all these audiobooks, and I was like taking crash courses in Japanese. I downloaded, I was just like listening to different things and just practicing. I was doing what I do. I practice. And I came from a space where like I love to learn languages anyway. And I'm really curious about other people's cultures. The good thing is when you go study abroad, you're also in school, and you can't go to the international school to be enrolled in a language course. So I was going to be in Japanese 101 when I got out there. I wanted to prepare myself for like, the basics. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just remember every day I was, taking a course at PSU. I actually took a summer school course. And every day on my way to class, I would just sit there practicing the Japanese on my way to and from school, from home to, downtown. And I picked up what I could. And I'm not afraid of sounding crazy. So when I was out there, I was practicing. And I felt like I sounded ridiculous, And they would laugh and they'd be like, "You're doing so good, so good." I'm like, keep trying. And they teach different in Japan. Like their curriculum, the way that their schools are set up, I learned so much in 6 months. I learned more in 6 months in Japan than I think I did in the States. Because when I came back to college, I tested out of Japanese 3.
Oh, wow.
And when I went to I was like surprised. And when I got into the conversational course, which is essentially Japanese 4, the things that they were going over in Japanese 4, conversational, we had went over, I was in Japanese 101. I was like, okay. They teach curriculum completely different. So I thought I was set. I actually got most improved for speaking Japanese when I was out there.
Okay.
But their culture is dope. Their food is amazing. So Japan is an island, and you know this. You don't think of Japan as like Hawaii.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Well, I do.
So warm.
I used to live in Hawaii. But yeah, it's an island. I mean, it really is like an island.
Yeah, I didn't know it was tropical. So I was there from June to December, and I mean, I have photos of me in Christmas time with like no jacket on because it's so warm out there.
Yeah, it's really interesting because there's a big surfing culture there, and there's a big like snowboarding culture there. It's you need to go. I know. I do need to go. I was so close.
You would like it.
You know,
Yeah.
it's definitely one of the places that like is on the top of my travel list.
You should do it. Are you into J-pop or just anime?
Just anime. I mean, I took Japanese for 2 years, and obviously, you know, I'm an animator and I love action movies and kung fu movies and all that stuff. So it's just always been a passion of mine, you know, just to go to Tokyo and seeing all that stuff. It's like, dang, you know, so what area were you staying in?
When I was living out there, I was essentially like northeast of Tokyo, about 2 hours.
Okay.
Out there, no one really drives. Having a car is a luxury.
Yeah.
And you take the train everywhere. So I was about a 2-hour train ride. And I was like northeast of Tokyo. I was in the Funabashi prefecture. And it was like right outside of Chiba. So
okay.
I highly recommend you go out there. Because I actually went back to Japan last April.
Okay. And how was that?
And it was amazing. I visited my host mom. Oh, that's another reason I learned really well. I decided to do it. You choose between staying in like a dorm with other international students or you can stay with a family. I chose a host family because I wanted to be around more people that spoke Japanese.
Yeah.
And I wanted to become as fluent as possible. And my host mom used to be a teacher, so I got lucky.
Ooh, so you had your own personal tutor. Oh, that's
exactly. The house was set up for like learning languages. And my mother is a teacher too, so it's almost like me, the Japanese version of my mom.
Yeah.
They both had autistic children.
Okay.
And
so they they're really good with their teaching.
Yeah. And so just like Disney, you know, fortunate, with this international program, they pair students with the right families.
Okay.
All of her students were also musicians. So it was really dope because I play the piano. I'm a classic pianist.
Okay.
And so she had a piano, it was electric too. So when I went out there, I could like put my headphones on and I could play the piano late at night without disturbing people. So it was the best family to be in.
Man.
Completely.
So, so I guess it circles back to like, how did you end up in with the German where you could have went Spanish and it's I mean maybe you know it's just looking at just the opportunities that were available and what those.
This is what it is. I hear you. So what it is for Disney, there are only 11 countries and one of them is America.
Okay. Yeah.
Not all of so while all of the employees are on these 1-year visas, so it's an authentic cultural experience, some of the countries do not have affiliations with the Disney hiring program.
Okay.
They're like, no, we only want to hire our own people. They want to manage it independently. So because I spoke Japanese, they wanted to pair with Japan, but Japan doesn't hire foreigners.
Oh, okay.
Ironically, like they actually do their own staffing internally. And so the most challenging country, as far as languages, was Germany.
Oh.
Because there was Norway, there's a bunch of other countries out there. But as far as the managers that were there that I'd be working with and the team and the level of like detail and intricacy and how difficult like those properties were.
Yeah.
I guess Germany was the next best one to go to after Japan. As far because Japanese is difficult, their culture is very different. And
man, all those characters. Like that was the one thing that I really sucked at is man, I sucked at kanji. I mean that was just like kanji is the so for people that don't know what kanji is Chinese characters that are pretty much co-opted by Japanese and used for their writing language. like it.
What's interesting about Japanese is that they have different like characters. You know, they have like the kanji for the Chinese characters that are being used in Japan. They have, hiragana for the Japanese words, and then they have katakana for the American words that they've infused into their culture.
Yeah.
So visually, it's really beautiful. It's like art. Everything's very artistic out there. When you're reading, you can tell which words are going to be American in English, which ones are like Japanese, and then you'll recognize kanji because they look like little pictures.
Yeah, yeah. Like they look like Chinese characters. I mean, and so
Yeah.
and it's I think the hardest thing, and it eventually clicked for me as I was like studying and trying to like memorize all this stuff. But really, just the sheer number of characters that there is, just to learn the basics of the language, you have to know what like 100 different characters, just to make do. I mean, I know for sure you have to know hiragana, and then the katakana, and then understanding sort of like the nuances between those, and then they throw kanji in there, and then it's like, crap.
Well, don't feel bad that you're not good at kanji. I knew Japanese that were like, I'm still bad at kanji.
Yeah,
and I learned it since I was a child.
Where you have like the little hiragana characters above the kanji characters.
Yeah, to translate.
Yeah.
I recommend you should go there. You definitely need to go there because you could appreciate the culture a lot.
Yeah.
And the people are so nice. The nicest people ever. They love being like helpful.
Yeah, I think for people that have only been to the US and only been into a particular part of the US, like going out there, I would imagine would be I wouldn't say a culture shock, but it would be just a very interesting experience to have.
It is. And I will say it's an easy country to visit right now as far as the learning curve with technology. If cell phones work out there, there's a Google Translate. So when you're reading on the screens or the menus, a lot of people will try to speak English to you if they speak it in Japan. So you'll meet people that will either try to help you or try to understand and speak with you, or things all translate into English.
Yeah.
So it's easy to travel, even in small groups or a solo traveler. And your phone still works, your GPS works. You can even text, iMessage your friends, such things. So it's easy to get around, and people are really nice. It feels very safe. The food is amazing. Yeah.
Okay. So Japan's one of the places to go. And so you mentioned that you are a classically trained pianist. Was this something that sort of was forced upon you as like a 3-year-old, or was this something that like you just kind of really had interest in and wanted to pursue?
So I wouldn't say I was forced. I will say that no tyrants, I had choices. My mother, I will say, her and my dad did a really good job exposing my sister and I to a lot of different opportunities, and one of them was music. So we took classes, and, I will say it's like learning a language, learning music. So I think I was naturally gravitating towards it because I always had that brain for languages, music, memorization, and it's a form of art. So it was really hard. The first year is probably the hardest. You want to quit. But like a lot of things, if you're disciplined, you put your hours in. Once you start to see like, I can actually do this. Oh, it sounds good. Then you get more invested because you're seeing the rewards of all your hard work in mastering something.
Yeah. And so with it, like, obviously because you played the piano and you've learned, what age did you start?
I started when I was 7.
Okay. So not too young. No.
I'm like 4th, not a 3.
Yeah. Because when I was younger, my parents pretty much put me in, I think when I was about 3 or 4, I want to say 4, to learning the piano. And then I gravitated more to percussions. And so I ended up shifting to snare drum. and then I moved to, I think in when I got to like college, I shifted to more of like guitar. And then
you did a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I did a little bit of everything. I'm the only thing that has always held me back is I'm not really good at reading music. And so because I'm not good at reading music, it's just limited myself when I go from like one instrument to the next. And then
so can you play by ear or
I used for the drums, yes, I'm really rusty, but like for the drums, yes. Piano, I'm okay. But since I play football, I have like and I used to like jam my fingers and everything from football.
Oh yeah.
And I gained weight, so I have like sausage fingers and they're very, very stiff. And so it's like my wrists,
Sorry.
my thumb, and all my knuckles are like kind of inflamed forever and like stiffer than they need to be. So
Yeah.
so I noticed that like my ability to play the guitar is really, really limited now. I need to like, really work on my flexibility and stuff in order for me to actually like do something.
Yeah, you need some hand stretches for that.
Yeah, it's just getting myself to do that.
Yeah.
It's just
Were you ever in a band, or was it something you did for fun?
it was just for fun. I've always been interested in music and like audio production, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's one like if I was a singer it would be a different story, but because I am vocally challenged. It's just one of those things that I've always admired, and but never really like gave myself the permission to like completely pursue.
Well, it sounds like you're good with your hands because you play with the drums, playing instruments. So, when did you decide to go to med school?
I decided to go to medical school when I realized I was not going to play in the NFL, and so I was like, I need something. I need to aspire to be something that has like a impact. I want to be able to use like sciences. I want to be able to like impact people's lives. I want to be able to like travel and do a lot of things. And I also want to have like the freedom and flexibility to, like really make my career what it can be. And so when I was like looking
Yeah.
into medicine, I was talking to a doctor, and he was like, for the skill set that like you have, that would fit perfectly with the demands that medicine requires, because there's just a lot of parallels. You have to stay
Yeah.
up to date on things. You have to do late hours. You have to make
Hmm.
sacrifices for the greater good. All those things are kind of things that I grew accustomed to as when I was playing football, and so
Yeah.
I like
A lot of
science.
it transferred over. Yeah.
Yeah, and so eventually I'll get to the point where I could actually utilize those skills. But
Yeah,
right,
almost there.
but right now I'm kind of just waiting, like everybody else for the most
Oh,
part.
so was this your match year?
No, no. So I am not even in medical school yet. I've literally been waiting through the application process for the past
Okay.
4 years. This is year three or four, one of those.
Is
Yeah.
there an equivalent to a match? So as far as like applying for med school?
So kind of not. I wouldn't say it's equivalent to a match. I guess it's
Okay.
So matching means that matching is when you like finish medical school and then you're going into your residency years. You
Oh, for the
applied.
special
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is similar. Yeah, it's like a level up from that. And so after you like apply, you pretty much like have a list of schools that you choose, and then the schools also choose a list of people that they want. And so the reason they call it match is because they pretty much like match each, like the person that is looking for a place of residency gets matched with a residency program that was looking for them.
Okay.
And so it's
And do
like
the
this.
schools see the students, or is it blind? Like they just choose the students? And
Oh no,
if it
no, yeah, yeah.
coincidences.
They know. It's not blind. Like they know they picking like they choose each other, and so it's like
Okay.
it's like I mean I feel like it's very similar to like the like the way like Tinder and like all those things work, where it's they see the people and then they choose those people, and then you get matched. You're able to connect with the person when they choose you as well.
Okay.
And so
That makes sense.
so if you choose a place and they don't choose you, then you're not going to get matched with them. So that's pretty much how it works.
Mm.
And so
So you're in limbo right now.
yes, I'm in limbo right now. Getting rejection still. And I fortunately had an interview at OHSU, being that
How'd that go?
it went really, really well. I had two interviews, one with Nevada Reno, and I feel like that was a warm up. There were many things about that experience that I really reaffirmed like the climate of like quote unquote diversity in medicine. I mean, I don't consider myself the darkest person in the room.
Yeah.
But I definitely was in that room, and so and really just like all the things that kind of come with that, like uh, issues that go beyond that, isolate you in terms of race, in terms of class, in terms of all types of things, and so. It like leaving that interview kind of like definitely, left me feeling a certain type of way. But the next week I had my my OHSU one, and it was a completely opposite experience.
Oh, that's good.
And so
that really was like a warm up.
Yeah. It really, because one of the things that like I didn't like about the Nevada Reno one was that it felt like they weren't interested in getting to know me as a person. They just went based off of the stuff that I had in my application. And so, yeah, like it was just very impersonal. It was very impersonable, compared to like what they were leading off to believe, like leading you to believe. And so with OHSU, it was like the complete opposite. I felt like, they were very receptive to me as like an artist, as, somebody that's a person of color, and pursuing medicine as a non-traditional like med student, and so it's like, fingers crossed, hopefully I get to OHSU, but like at the end of the day, like, Black people ain't getting into medical school like that. And so I understand sort of
what's the diversity? What's the diversity like at OHSU?
That's a good question.
Well, you said in Nevada you were the brownest, you're the brownest chocolate chip in the cookie.
I was the darkest person in the room for every interview that I've done for medicine. And but I think nationally, if you talk about diversity numbers, each school, has an entering class of what, like 100, maybe 120 as their entering class. And with that, they say that their diversity, like their underrepresented minorities percentage is around 10%. And so what that means is that underrepresented minorities is like a umbrella term for like people of color, so like Black people, Hispanic, Asian, pretty much all non-white people, right? And so within that 10%, they also throw in like low income and rural, and also LGBTQ.
Oh,
and so
not a lot of diversity.
So it's not a lot of diversity, because those intersections mean that underrepresented minorities don't mean non-white.
Yeah.
And so that
sounds really competitive.
Yeah, it becomes when you see the number, when you see the reality of those numbers, it's just like, oh, okay, this is what you guys are talking about. But with OHSU, like, I think the beauty, so with OHSU, like all other schools, there's no such thing as like an easy school to get into, because a lot of schools that you would consider easy are the schools that are tied to residency. And so say like there's a school in Montana or there's a school in all these other places and they need to get their diversity numbers up, quote unquote. But they won't, they will only do so much within the confines of their residency pool. And so if I was a resident of Montana and I pursued medicine as a black person, then I'm more likely to get into the medical school in Montana. But if I'm a black person in, California and I try to apply to Montana, it's pretty much impossible for me to get in there unless I have like the most amazing MCAT scores possible,
They look local first, and then they'll take your scores. Okay.
Yeah, and so what that translates to is that's why there's also that's why it perpetuates the disparities that people of color, particularly black people, have, because black people, the large numbers of black people that are most likely to apply to medical school are on the coast. So like you got the DCs, you got the New Yorks, you got the Californias, you got all those, the Texas, the Floridas, but nobody in like those Midwestern states and stuff like that. And so
really, why is that?
It's because because on average the average black kid that's leaving high school is more likely to go into athletics or entertainment and computer science.
Okay.
And so but it's mainly entertainment. Like entertainment and athletics are like the top two, and then you have computer science and any sort of adjacent thing as a tertiary thing, and then maybe medicine. But with like the experience of going through sort of the pipeline of medicine sort of weeds people out intentionally, and so if you don't have the money, if you don't have the social support or any of the resources, if you don't have the self-esteem, if you don't have sort of somebody sort of championing you, it's just very unlikely that you're going to follow through or see it through if you don't have those external drivers.
Wow, that's a lot of barriers.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but me and my girlfriend, like, we see those things like on a daily basis.
Yeah. So you're in limbo right now and you're waiting.
Yeah. I'm pretty much I'm like refreshing my email like 10 times every time I wake up to see if I got another rejection, or an acceptance. And
well, when is there a season where they have to officially send out all of their letters?
So they will let you know between June. So like I applied in July of last year, right?
Okay.
End of July of last year. And so since I applied end of July of last year, I have from August 1st, 2019 to like mid-June 2020.
Oh.
So
and so they start sending letters all the way through the entire window of time.
Yep. And so some places they shut down their some places they go through the process, and when they fill up, they just reject everybody. And then other places are kind of on a longer timeline or schedule. And essentially the name of the game is to try not to get rejected early. And if you could do that, then
how do you control that?
You have to not suck, I guess. But really, there's so much that's out of your control that like nobody really knows. It's just
so
this
if you
arbitrary
want to be a good
thing.
Candidate, to be a good candidate on paper, is it on paper? Essentially, you just have to have a good application. Or do you send in videos? Or
Yeah. So when you have a primary application, which you send to all the schools, it's pretty much like your MCAT score, your what was it MCAT score, your GPA, all your extracurriculars, how much time you spent volunteering, and like a personal statement of like why medicine, and then and so you send that to all the schools, and on average you want to apply to like 15 to 20 schools is what they say you want to apply to. And it costs like it costs around $45 to $80 per school to apply, and then
that's an investment.
yeah, and then you get secondaries. You either get a rejection or you get a secondary. And
What does secondary mean?
so secondaries are school specific. So they send you they pretty much reply back to your application. And if you go to get a secondary, you pretty much go on to the next round of the application process. And so secondary is just like secondary part of the application, round 2 of the application. You didn't get a rejection yet, so they like something. And they will pretty much give you questions that can be nuanced or specific to their school. And so some questions would be, why do you want to choose a school? Or if it's a school in a rural area, then it's like, how do you feel about rural medicine? How do you feel about diversity?
So for schools that have that secondary, conversation, do they do that because they have a lot of applicants, or do they do that because that's how their program's designed? What's determined?
Every school has a secondary, and that's just because they're trying to slowly weed out the people they don't want, essentially. And I think it's because they want to make more money, because secondary applications are about twice as much as the primary application. So if a primary application is like $45 to $80, then a secondary application is going to be like $100 to $150. And so,
wow.
So for me, like I applied to 15 schools. I got 9 secondaries, and then after the secondaries, I got 2 interviews. And so once they take a look at the secondary, then they will send you an interview or they'll send you a rejection. And then you have to fly out there. If you don't live out there, you have to fly out there. You have to drive out there. You talk to people. You go through this like multiple mini interview, and then after that, you pretty much wait and see if you got in.
So, because of Corona, is that delaying your letter?
I got a rejection last week. So it is, I would imagine, like schools probably either tried to hurry up and reject people before things got worse, or they're delaying the review process until things get a little better. And so honestly, I don't know. Yeah.
Do you think they'll extend it out since it's time?
I don't think so. I don't think so. But since like physicians are the ones that are like reviewing your stuff, for the most part, I think like physicians and stuff are the ones reviewing your stuff. But like schools are shut down. I really don't know. I mean, I think this is one of those things where, we've never really been in this situation before. And with the medical application process, they are very like closed off in many ways. There's so much mystery that you really have no idea. Like, you don't know if you have a shot at a school or not. I mean, you could have a perfect SAT, perfect MCAT score and get rejected by half the schools you apply to, and
that's confusing.
Yeah, there's a lot of people trying to like, there's a big business in trying to apply to medical school. Not even to like do anything else, but like just to apply to medical school. That's big business.
So question for you then. Out of all the grads or people that are applying for med school, what percentage actually get accepted?
So for Kaiser, I got rejected by Kaiser last week. And so for Kaiser, they have 6,000 applicants, and they only accepted 130.
Wow.
And so yeah. So you're looking at, what is that? Like 5,130? Is it like not even 10%? No, it's not 10%. It's what is it? 5%?
It's not a lot. It sounds like your odds are really against you. So it sounds like a lot of people that apply for school, do you just apply the next, or what do you do if you decide, like,
It's
what is the second choice?
So what you do is you save your money. You considered so for me, this is my second time applying, and so what I did was I didn't find out about, like, so I applied for the 2017-2018 cycle. And so what I did is, when I got my last rejection, I didn't get my last rejection till June of 2018, right? And applications opened up May 2018. And so
You want to wait to make sure.
Yeah. So I was like, crap, I'm going to have to apply again. And so what I did is I ended up taking the 2018 application cycle, and I just focused on getting residency in Oregon, retaking the MCAT and getting a better score, and then working on a lot of, like, my extracurriculars, so I have more hours of consistency and more experience. And so I did those three things.
You strengthen your application so you can.
Yeah, strengthen my application. But by default, it ended up meaning that because I finished up at Portland State in 2017, so it ended up meaning that I was going to essentially have a full gap year, and apply in 2019. And so because I'm applying in 2019, I wouldn't start medical school if I get in till 2020. And so ended up being like taking one gap year, and it ended up prolonging my time for like 2 years. And so
what you do, so you're strengthening your application, and are you spending any time in Portland, or are you getting to know people, or is it so intense you have to just focus and study the whole time?
Well, for the MCAT, you definitely have to, like, focus and study for like 6 months. And so I did that, and pretty much, yeah, I mean, it's like life kind of stops, essentially. Like, life stops because you have to find this balance of studying, and pretty much studying as a part-time job, and then actually working to pay bills, and then actually going through and getting the volunteer hours and stuff. Because if you're not fortunate enough to work in healthcare, then you have to find volunteer opportunities to get experience in healthcare. And even if you do work in healthcare, you still have to find volunteer experiences to shadow doctors and to do a whole bunch of, like, soul searching work, I guess. They really test your convictions for pursuing medicine before you even start pursuing medicine. And so
so you have to have some volunteer work. What did you do for volunteer?
So I worked in radiation oncology at OHSU, and family medicine at OHSU. And then I worked on a few like side projects and research projects with other physicians. And so I've spent like probably like thousands of hours of volunteer hours in the hospital at OHSU. And so it's just, it's just like over time those things kind of just add up. And then when you sit down and like input all those hours, then it's like, oh crap, I actually did some stuff.
Yeah. Did you have like the best part of all of your work?
Huh?
Did you have like a best part?
So working in radiation oncology, I did not expect to enjoy it as much as I did.
Really?
Yes, because
What
obviously
surprised you?
radiation oncology, or oncology in general, all the patients that come in either have cancer or
Yeah.
either have cancer or they don't. And so nobody's coming in with like a sprained ankle and being like, hey, I hurt. And
Yeah.
so
More sober.
yeah, and so but despite that, the hospital, like the facility, is amazing. It's always like brightly lit, and like it always just makes you the environment makes you feel like positive, and all the people are great.
Yeah.
Like that was really the big thing, is that everybody that I worked with, they were great.
How many people did you work with?
So I worked with Dr. Jaboyne and probably like 4 or 5 of the residents. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it was like a small team that I only worked with like a handful of people, but just everybody that was there in that department was just great. And so whereas like in like when I'm doing like rounds in family medicine, it's kind of it's the typical hospital experience that you would expect, where you're going from like
Oh,
patient to patient, going up flights of stairs and trying to make it back across and all that stuff, and that's where it's like, man, you got to be in shape.
wow. So it sounds like a workout.
Yeah, it's having to navigate people and navigate really sort of the infrastructure that you got to work within, and understanding how certain people work with other people. It's a lot. There's a lot more nuances in that one, and so it's a really, I mean, I encourage people to like pursue medicine, obviously, because in times like this, these are the times where like you'll have a job. Like,
You guys are essential.
yeah, like nurses aren't getting laid off, doctors aren't getting laid off. I mean, you guys are at
Mm-hmm.
risk, but you're at risk like going to work, working at a factory and stuff like that. And so it's and you get sort of a gratification that can't really be mimicked in other areas. And so it's it's interesting. I implore people to look into medicine, if not for themselves, for other people, because it's there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it takes a special kind of person to want to take care of other people.
I
Because you take an oath to put people.
Yeah, you take a Hippocratic oath, and
Yeah.
and that's something that people take very seriously, because
It's really impressive.
yeah, because people's lives are um like at stake because of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
Well, I hope that. So you'll hear. They haven't extended the deadline yet
yeah,
for COVID, so you can hear by like June, the summertime.
I hope I hear before then. I'm hoping, I expect to hear something within like the next month, to be honest.
Okay.
And so if I don't, then obviously things probably got kicked back. But I expect to hear something, in the next month. Hopefully something positive.
Yeah.
But we'll kind of
You got
see.
this.
Yeah. And so like one of the things that I'm like curious about with you is, what made you come back to Portland? Because like you're from Portland,
Yeah.
you're a Portlander, and so
I am.
what made you want to come back after being in? I mean, you were at like the world's greatest place on earth, so like what brings you from you know Florida to Portland?
Well, I can survive anywhere. I can make friends. You know, I can adapt to environments, other work environments. So I always knew when it came to like graduating in college, I could stay in the DMV, stay in DC, Maryland, or Virginia. I could take a job anywhere, or I could go home And so when I was in Florida and I decided that it was time for me to, move on because it was just not quite my cup of tea. I didn't really care for the environment as much, the geographical location. I mean, I've been gone for like the last 5 years between college and my family is in Portland. So I was ready to go back home, be around my family, and, just go back to my roots. I really enjoyed growing up in Portland, and I enjoy the city now as an adult. And the city's growing crazy. It's really weird to see Portland now between all the diversity, hires and all the growth in Portland from, Nike, Intel, HSU, a bunch of creative firms. And Portland's a hub for so many different industries right now that our city is growing. It's always under construction. And I will say that I'm a city girl. So I'm from Portland. And I know Portland's in Oregon, but I can't speak much to Oregon. I can speak to Portland. And Portland is not Oregon.
Yeah.
You go a little further out, and I'm like, I need to know that if I yell, someone can hear me.
Yeah. It's
and I enjoy nature. I like Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's always been the thing that has been interesting to me is that you could tell if somebody's in Oregon, you could tell if they're from Portland because everywhere else it's like like the Boonies, Duck Dynasty, all that type of stuff,
Yeah, no. And I would say going to DC was interesting because, you dealt with the whole, there's black people in Portland. I'm like, yeah. Most people first, and they laugh. I'm like, I have a whole family of 4 more people in Portland. And the irony is, being from there, I didn't realize that Portland wasn't that diverse. I mean, I knew it, but I think my network was diverse.
Yeah.
The schools I went to, like I went to Sabin. It was in North Portland, Northeast Portland. I went to Beaumont after that, and then I went to Benson, which was a magnet school, but between Benson, Grant, and Jeff. So there's a lot of diversity.
Yeah.
And I will say that a lot of the people I knew, we were involved in a lot of programs. So you'd see a lot of people that you recognize a lot because you're in sports. You're in extracurriculars. You're doing something with yourself. You're rarely just like going to school and going home. You're involved. I was a cheerleader in high school. I was a peer mediator. I was in the Bridge Builders program. And I will say that people don't realize that Portland is one of the best kept secrets in the Northwest. We have the air, the water, the energy, the vibrations are lower here. It's very relaxing. And so if you're someone that's like a go-getter and you know how to seize opportunities and you're decisive and you're talented and you know how to speak to people and you can network, you can come here if you're not from here and dominate. And there's so many creative people out here. Portland has so much talent. I have so many friends that just are in so many different industries. As I feel like I've benefited from seeing so many people that value this area where all the black people, we grew up in the same areas. We went to the same schools together, same churches. And as the city's grown, it's gotten gentrified. For its size, Portland was gentrified, I would say, later than a lot of other cities of its size in the nation. And so when I was in college, like 04 to 08, Portland hadn't been gentrified yet. I grew up in the same house my entire life in North Portland, like Northeast, right by SCI.
Okay, yeah.
And, there was, and I was there before SCI was there. When it was just, Unthink Park, where they gave us free lunches in the park, And to see SCI built there into the community and to watch all people of color, moving around and infusing into the culture. Now that gentrification's hit, people are moving to Vancouver, to Gresham, to Beaverton, and getting priced out. So, while I understand the culture and the history here, having left and come back home, I can appreciate that the world is also bigger than the area that I grew up in. And I see people that aren't from here, transplants moving out here, and I can see how they want more like social life and more events and more nightlife and more people of color, and more black people. I get it. And that's the one good thing there are several good things, but like one thing I will say I appreciate about the city growing so much is that more things are happening here. And it's just more opportunity to get to know more people, to grow your network, more events to go to, more opportunities. So.
Yeah, and I think for everybody that I've talked to that aren't from here, one of the things that they've continued to say, unintentionally, like nobody is like come here and be like, oh, we're going to talk about this, but but really the opportunities. And for me, like I've lived all down the West Coast. I'm from the Bay Area, and I lived in LA, and before I moved up here, and I came here I came here because I wanted to get into OHSU, but I didn't realize that I was going to be around. I was going to have so many opportunities and all the other stuff that I'm interested in, and that was the big shocker, because I didn't the things that I'm doing now here were at the bottom of the list of things that I thought I would have the opportunity to do up here.
What's the biggest surprise about Portland for you?
The biggest surprise was that for non-studio animation, for comic book illustration, and for like all the AR and like tech stuff that I'm doing, like this is LA for me. So all the tools that I use are either made out of Seattle or they're made out of Portland. And the communities and all the comic conventions and stuff, the biggest ones that aren't in California are in Seattle and Portland. Like the Pacific Northwest is the place to be for really a lot of the creative things that that are up and coming. And so especially the comic book industry, because I want to say like 6 or 7 out of the major comic book publishers are based in Portland.
Okay.
And so it's just, but you would never know that, like.
No. And is that different comic book, or is it just anime specific?
So perfect example, Dark Horse Comics. Dark Horse is in Milwaukee, and the owner of Dark Horse Comics, he's like one of my mentors. And he went to school at Portland State, and if anybody is a fan of like the Alien series, like the movies with like Sigourney Weaver and like Alien, or the Predator series, or that's Dark Horse stuff. Dark Horse. The reason that the movie The Mask with Jim Carrey, that was Dark Horse.
Really?
Yeah, like all these like pop culture movies from the 90s, like late 80s, early 90s, like that stuff was pretty much like made out of Portland. Like that stuff came out of Portland.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and so it's like things like that, like you don't realize. Just things like that you don't realize. Obviously, like we know about The Simpsons. But Leica is pretty much like the sister, not the sister company, but the daughter company of Nike. And so like what movies like Coraline and all the like the stop motion animation movies that are coming out right now, those are all produced out of Portland.
That's crazy. I feel like a lot of things happen out here, and it's kind of like a quiet happening.
Yeah, super low key.
Like it's real low key, and you either won't hear about it or you'll hear about it much later. Even when movies are filmed out here.
Yeah. Because
the thing is, Portland's beautiful. That's the thing. Portland is visually beautiful. The air is dope. The water is good. And so when you come here, you feel really good. Now, there's always a reason for getting out here. You're born here. You went to school out here. You married somebody, fell in love. you know.
Yep. Yeah.
But when you get out here, it's either you really like it or, you gotta go back home.
Yeah. Like you I think once you get used to the rain and sort of like the Portland, I wouldn't say the Portland climate, but like the Portland mentality of like money isn't everything, like,
Yeah, it's all experiences,
yeah, like, only in Portland will a art walk in downtown shut down before the sun goes down. like, like what? Like that doesn't happen. Yeah. That doesn't happen in LA. That doesn't happen in Oakland. Like, those are the best times, but not in Portland.
I know, right?
People got to, have dinner with their families and stuff. So.
And Portland's a big town, small city. Like, it thinks it's a big city that really, and it's growing. But
yeah,
it wasn't really designed to be big. But
oh no, obviously not. Like the blocks are tiny. Yeah,
I know. So when I travel, I get thrown off because I'm like, man, I've been walking for forever. It's just like 3 blocks. It's just 1 block.
Yeah,
in New York.
Yeah, it's like I just moved to Old Town, and I'll look on the map and be like, okay, Blick Art Store, that's like 15 blocks away. That's going to take me a little while. It's like, no, that'll probably take you like 10 minutes. And it's
10
like
minutes, yeah.
it's like, like I go to Vegas pretty often, and a block in Vegas, if you try to go down the strip,
that's a mile.
Yeah, like that'll take forever.
Vegas has ridiculous blocks though.
Yeah, but those are like city blocks. Like those are the blocks you expect. I mean, probably not that, like, Vegas is obvious, like an extreme example, but
it is extreme.
But like you expect a city block to be like, like bigger than a residential block, but no, not in Portland. Not in Portland.
I know. I will say I like Portland too because there's a lot of little areas of culture where you can park, walk around. I'm in the Hollywood district, so there's trains. I mean, I think our walking score is like 94 out of 100.
Yeah. It's they really, I feel like Portland really rewards people for not driving.
Oh yeah. I mean, a few years ago, you'd get like biker reimbursements from the government.
Oh, seriously? What?
Yeah. It just ended. I want to say either January 2018 or January 2019.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
But it's really great. You get rewarded even your homes when you're remodeling. If you put solar panels, and you're energy efficient, you get all the tax credits, and people love going green out here.
Yeah.
That's even my job. Like, that's why I was so excited to go paperless. The last 9 months I've spent doing my role paperless. So this whole working from home now, it's been a relatively seamless process for me.
Yeah.
Because that was always something that was a focus of mine. And a byproduct of going paperless is that you can work remotely.
Yeah.
And
that is,
we have offices in other cities.
Yeah.
So it's just nice. You can meet more people. It doesn't matter where you're at. You're not bound to your geographical location for your workload.
And I mean, that's the way of the future now. I mean, that's a thing of reality, and now people are trying to catch up last minute, and some people were successfully doing that. I feel like I think Zoom is definitely grew their stock like exponentially because
And you heard about how they're giving away free Zoom for kids for, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, which is crazy because, like,
wow,
like platforms like we're on like a Google meeting, and people use like Google calendars for everything. If you're scheduling something, you have a Gmail or whatever, like you're scheduling something in your Google Calendar that automatically sets up a meeting for you. And people don't even know about that, Like,
the world is so tech friendly right now, and I think that's the craziest part about this whole season of COVID is we're all forced to see what industries, what companies, what can survive technology and remotely. Everything's being tested with the resources.
Yeah, I think it really highlights sort of it exploits the resistance that people have had in other industries. Because in this, like, we can't do anything about this. Like this is like The Walking Dead. This is like World War Z.
I'm trying to stay optimistic.
But like like when we're talking to, like, quite often we talk about we hear like Republican talking points about, like, coal isn't dead, and we need to still do all these sorts of jobs and bring them back and all that. But in this, like, right now, you can't bring back going to a movie theater. You can't bring back you can't bring there's just certain things you can't bring back. And
I'm curious to see how this all goes, because some industries I don't think will make it out of this.
Yeah,
and I didn't realize you realize how many companies also were living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah,
just like people do. And the fact that these industries, whole industries, need to be built out. I mean, between the airlines, how many industries depend on bodies on the floor? We would not survive without certain industries, like our nurses, our doctors, our grocers, our, gas, garbage, people that are essential to our society.
Yeah.
That's where I keep hearing is, are you essential though? Then you have to go. Like, if you're not essential, then work remote. If you can't work remote, then stay home.
Yeah. I mean, it's, well, because remember, like, like working for a grocery store or having like a, being in certain sectors, like deliveries, like that stuff used to be, those used to be very, very good gigs instead of just like gig work. Those used to be like, stable jobs that you could depend on. And then, Uber came in and all that. So like now there's a resurgence of all those delivery jobs because, that's the only way for businesses to keep going. And so it like some things have died down, but also some things have had a resurgence. A lot of the stuff that we kind of like took for granted.
You realize they are essential.
Yeah. Like, do you know, like, a butcher, a simple thing like a butcher and a deli are so crucial now, like your local deli is probably flourishing in this right now because it's really hard to ship stuff in. And so a lot of people are relying on stuff that's produced locally and not stuff that's produced across the country.
I know. And that's where I will say we're fortunate to be in Portland because we're such a foodie city with a huge emphasis on like farm to table.
Oh my gosh.
Locally sourced, the origin of your seafood and your wildlife, what farm that your cow was on, that, you got your almond, your milk from for your coffee. It's just so, they put such a high value on the quality.
Yeah.
What you're consuming, that I think we're fortunate to have access to a lot of different like grocery stores and, from meat to produce.
Man.
I'm hearing in other states, I haven't heard in Oregon, but in other states that restaurants need people, and without them, they don't have any traffic in, they can't pay their bills, and they're converting restaurants to grocery stores because they have all this perishables.
Oh, snap.
And then you have grocery stores running out of food.
Yeah. That's been one thing that, grocery stores are selling out. And
people are
I don't know too much about like the grocery store market, but it's a good thing if you sell out, but it's also a bad thing if you can't replenish your stock because you got overhead that's, like you got crazy overhead.
Everybody has rent to pay,
Yeah, and grocery stores are, like their rent payments aren't cheap. That mess, they got a lot of real estate they got to cover. They got a lot of light bills.
That's true. And even the cost of labor of having employees and being staffed and, there's so much that goes into it, and we're seeing the true test of the infrastructure of America right now, of the U.S.
Yeah, it's I think because I've been making like a whole bunch of like comics about it over the past week, and
Really?
yeah, and one of the things that I've been like really tapped into is, what happened. This is the consequence of the quote unquote record unemployment rate. Like during this time, one of the big things prior to this was the fact that, yeah, people might have jobs, but very few, like relatively, like very few people have like full-time employment and a 401k. Like people have jobs, but they're balancing multiple jobs. They probably don't, they're probably contracted workers. They probably don't have full benefits. They probably have to pay.
Healthcare is crazy.
Yeah, like they're probably paying for healthcare like out of pocket. Like they're probably doing other side gigs to make ends meet or to have a savings. They probably don't have a savings. Like people are doing things and people are working, but people aren't making a lot of money and they don't have that safety net that you would expect people to have. And so
there's no security.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? They always told us, how the machines are going to take our jobs and machines are going to replace us. And we always thought a little bit more literal or technical as far as like specific industries that could be replaced over time.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us foresaw something as intense as a pandemic within days flipping over every industry.
Yeah.
And replacing people. If you can't go remote, you can't use technology, then you're not essential.
Yeah.
We can function without you. Like, we thought it would be like over time, jobs would get replaced strategically with, technology.
Yeah.
And in 1 month, in the month of March, we have worked our entire world as we know it. See who can handle.
Well, really, technology is the thing that's really kept people's jobs.
Yeah. Like
everybody is having a video meeting now. Like everybody is using the stuff that they've been resisting.
Yeah, servers, Wi-Fi, it's all tech. If you can't survive on technology right now, if your industry doesn't depend on physical body, like mailmen, like just all those things, unsung heroes. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not on the ground, and if you're not able to transition to technology,
yep, you just get with it or get lost.
That is the area. That is the area where I think we're going to see the largest unemployment right now.
Yeah.
I heard a projection that said 20%.
I mean, there's what is it like 3 million people in the past week, 2 weeks, and so it's like how is that record unemployment now? Like if things were really going the way that they were supposed to be going, or if things were really as good as they were, then people wouldn't be panicking right now because they would have money saved up. They would have a safety net,
secure.
Like
everybody's in. It's not okay. I mean, it exposes a lot of the flaws in the system.
Yeah.
And if you had foresight, then you're okay. And I'm just really curious to see how things go. It's really a tough time, and I already saw the housing market crash in 2008. I graduated in 2008, so I was graduating into that market. So to see this happen, no one in our lifetime has seen what's happening now.
Yeah, no, it's
unprecedented.
This is wild. Like it's just wild.
Unprecedented.
Yeah. Apparently, like everybody's getting a $1,200 check, apparently, and and some other things are happening.
Well, they're instituting an emergency family medical leave. They're doing an emergency new sick leave with some paid involved. What's challenging is that even with that stimulus package that they just, they're working on, is that it's not $1,200 to everybody. And mind you, $1,200 isn't that much when it's one time.
Yeah.
That won't cover all people's rent or mortgage. But so even people that you have to file your taxes to qualify for it. And
yeah,
I don't, I'm still reading it, so I don't remember everything from it. But from what I've read over the last couple of days and what was, officially being reviewed today.
Yeah.
You hear that $1,200 number, but if you make below a certain amount, the less you make, the less you qualify for. You have to file your taxes first.
Yeah.
And then they'll put you, into these different banks. So what sucks is that it's not on a sliding scale. There's no equity involved. You can make less and need more, but you'll be given less because of your bracket.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which will further separate. What this is going to do is decisively split up that pay gap between the middle class that wasn't really the middle class, was really closer to poverty than they knew, and upper class.
Yeah. That's...
a lot of people keep joking about how 2019, everyone was like, 2020 is going to be my year. Just got my life together. Myself included. I was so optimistic coming into this year, and I really felt like I got a lot of ducks in a row.
Oh man, I had stuff lined up. Like I literally had stuff lined up.
Like what?
I was so I'm working with contracted to work with a Will Smith studio, and so I had like a project that I was working on with them, and then and I just launched my augmented reality books, and so I'm like,
Congrats.
I'm
Congrats.
diving in and doing that stuff, but some of the contracts that I had lined up, or projects I had lined up, were associated with events that got canceled. And so the event gets canceled, my project gets canceled, and so does that paycheck.
Yeah. What I'm curious about, so where there's strength and room for opportunity with events, because have you seen how DJs are hosting these day parties and all day, they're finding meeting spaces on the internet.
Yes.
It kind of takes me back to the AOL days and chat room days.
Oh yeah, man, chat rooms was popping.
Now we have but now we have Zooms. We can see each other too.
Yeah.
So to a whole other level. But there is space for certain things to go convert over. But again, like you said, certain things depend on people interacting with each other.
Yeah.
Event festival. So many festivals have been canceled. I mean, Afro Nation. This is Afro Nation's first year.
Oh, dang.
And I think they had 3 different festivals, and they were popping internationally. Everybody was going to be in Puerto Rico in March.
Okay. Oh, man.
It was going to be such a successful event. And to have to cancel that, all the people's pockets, think how many people's pockets touched that type of event. All the people who had travel plans, all the industries impacted. It's all connected.
Man, they canceled they canceled the Olympics. They
can't. Well, have they officially canceled it yet? Because I thought they said if it wasn't cleared by May, that they would cancel the Olympics.
No, it's 2021. The Olympics will be in 2021.
Oh, this is a long week. You know what? I remember that in the news.
Yeah, yeah. They literally said that last week.
Yeah. So they said that they haven't canceled the Olympics for anything besides World War.
Yeah. And not even what was it, World War I? Because World War II, Hitler was there. I mean, this was at the beginning of World War II. They had an Olympics, and that's when Jesse Owens was there and showed out and all that stuff. Yeah. And then
all I know, this pandemic is war level. To cancel the Olympics. Yeah. I've never in my life seen children pulled out of schools across the country, across the globe.
Yeah, this is it's bad when a couple that calls for help in a national park gets arrested for being at a national park.
Yeah, no. I just heard today. I was so earlier on Zoom and talking to a friend from college that's in New York, and he's like, "We're stuck in New York," and it's not like you're stuck in your house in suburbia where you have a backyard. Imagine being stuck in an apartment. Yeah, and you can only leave for essential travel. He said that someone was talking in a Zoom, "Oh, come visit me," and I don't know if it was Jersey or somewhere that you could drive to. And he was telling us, and I have not fact checked this, but this is what he said. He's like, we can't leave the state. If you try to leave New York, they have the National Guard checking everybody's information. And so I don't know if that means like they're just doing thorough search and, interview type style to see where you're going. But it sounds like they're really trying hard to protect people with this shelter in place.
Yeah. And I understand that because, that's, look at Florida's about to get lit up because nobody, like, people are over there going to beaches and stuff like that.
You know what? No, you know what? I feel like it's not fair to blame those millennials and the spring breakers.
Oh no!
Think about it.
It's not the spring breakers. It's the freaking
the locals.
It's the locals.
Oh man! You know what? If you can't listen, well, here's the thing: can you really blame people, especially in Florida? Because up until I think the 13th of March, from January all the way through the 13th of March, which is 2 weeks ago, everybody in a position of power was saying not to worry about it. So if you have a message telling you it's fine, it'll blow over.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. We're good. It's not a big deal. This is an overreach. It's overreaction. You're going to go about your life like nothing's wrong. Like, we heard about Ebola and we heard about the Zika and we heard about all this other, swine flu, but we didn't get pulled out of school. The world didn't stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had organizations built into our government to handle it, and they did.
Yep.
So why would anybody do anything different? So is it really their fault that in a matter of days, the message goes from it's not a big deal to, national emergency? You know what I'm saying? It's not realistic to expect people to take something seriously when no one around them has said it was serious, and the people that they're trusting to validate, or to guide them and lead them, say to chill.
Yep.
You're good. You're going to think you're good. You got flights already. You're already out there. You're traveling. You're on vacation. You're not on your phone looking at the news to find out that within 48 hours, it hasn't been like a smooth transition. It's randomly escalated. That's unrealistic. It's not reasonable to expect people to be that prepared, or informed.
Yeah. I just know that if things were to pop off, I would not want to be in Florida. Like that.
Florida's the craziest state.
Like Florida, everything happens in Florida. Like
everything happens out there.
Everything.
But you know what? So everything doesn't really happen out there. I mean, everything does, but what I heard was
you just hear about things more often there.
Well, because I think with their state, I don't know if it's like their state media or the legislation, whatever it is with their rules in Florida, they're able to put a lot of things public, out there.
Yeah.
So we just hear about more of the Florida craziness. There's some wild stuff going out there. And I always wondered, like, there's a little peninsula hanging out there, one big wave, Florida, man.
Yeah, I mean, they have a serious hurricane season.
No, and that's so in Disney. That was what was so sad. Hurricane season, like in August, kind of towards the end of the summer. It's really humid. It's warm.
Yep.
And I felt bad because I was there during hurricane season, and you have these families. They'll come. They save their money. They take a vacation, time off at work. They've traveled across the country with their 2 or 3 little day passes, and not little, but they'll come with their day passes, and then it will just rain and storm, and they'll close the parks down, and people are just like, do they get refunds? Can they go a different day? And it's kind of like you came during hurricane season.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
it's kind of like flood season.
That was fire
season.
That was my family. When I went to Disney World when I think I was like 10, we hop off the plane and they are under a hurricane advisory, so everything was boarded up. The only thing we couldn't even. It was so bad that Dairy Queen did not have any food. That's how bad it was.
That's so sad.
And then so it and it was crazy because I've you go to like the resort and stuff like that, and they're like, okay, well, this is hurricane season. I've never seen a tree bend and touch the ground on both ends. I was like, what in the world?
It sounds like a cartoon.
like it was just
Mother Nature's no joke, man.
yeah. But then the next day it was like a great day, and we like enjoyed Disney World, and so it was just like
Florida's crazy.
it was just wild. It was just wild.
I like while I was out there, it's like every day would like rain around like 8 or 9 in the morning, and then like about 10, the sun would just evaporate all the rain. It would be sunny, blue skies. You couldn't even tell. Like if you took a late nap, or if you slept in, excuse me, you couldn't even tell it rained. But the air felt clear because it would get so hot and humid, and just like the rain would like wash it all away, and then would cool everything off, and then kind of start fresh, like a reset of the day.
Yeah, it's I mean, it really reminds me of living in Hawaii. I mean, it's like very very similar.
How long was you out there?
4 years. Yeah. I was there for 4 years, so I was there.
Did you go to college out there?
Yeah. So I played football there,
Okay.
and then and went to school, got my bachelor's there, and then got up out there because.
Why? So how was it?
I mean, it's cool. It's just that I know that I would not be able to like start a career out there because like everything is so laid back and everything is
seems isolated.
It is isolated, but like you don't really like realize it as much. You just realize that you could only do so many things without their in terms of like a career, you could only do so many things without having to leave. And just like the climate and the culture in Hawaii just doesn't lend itself to, like pulling a week of all-nighters to start, to build up your business and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just different, it's different. And so when I
hear it's laid back. My dad used to live in Hawaii for like 10 years.
Oh yeah.
He said they have really nice New Year's celebrations.
Yeah. They there's you have this like big like Asian influence there, and so you have and you have like this like big like tourist industry, but outside of like tourism and hospitality, it's just very limited in terms of like the growth that you could have in other sectors. You're not if you're into real estate, you probably don't want to be in Hawaii if you aren't trying to sell like $1 million homes.
Is it a lot of retirement out there, or
Yeah.
mostly tourism?
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot of retirement and tourism. It's
okay.
And
sounds like Florida.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very, very similar to Florida. I feel like people that love Florida love Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii's gorgeous from what I hear. I want to go out there, but I hear it's expensive to live out there because everything has to get shipped.
Yes. Everything has to get shipped, even the sand. Fun fact about Hawaii.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Fun fact about Hawaii. Hawaii is a volcano, and so nothing is natural there. And so
really,
yeah, like nothing is like nothing is homegrown on a volcano, because it's like how are animals supposed to get on a volcano? They can't. They have to be shipped there, and then they just get left there. And so it doesn't have any natural predators on there, and so anything that grows just continues to grow. And
okay.
And with the sand,
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And with the sand, I mean, like, it's because it's a volcano, like, you're not going to get sand on a volcano just naturally. And so they actually ship the sand from LA.
I wonder whose idea that was.
I don't know. I don't know. It was probably somebody got that contract and was like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. We're going to turn this into a beach. Where do we get sand?
Bring sand?
Yeah.
Bring sand to the beach?
Yeah, let's just bring sand to the beach and make it. And so yeah. If you like, there was a time where Waikiki didn't have sand, and that was because they didn't send it from Hawaii. Or they didn't send it from LA. So yeah.
You know what? Maybe that's a trend. I feel like a lot of beautiful places have a little bit of, creativity and, because if you think about Disney. Disney's built in a swamp on the most undesirable piece of land.
Yes. Which I feel like that was intentional because they wanted to build a whole world and they didn't want to pay world prices.
Well, it was a good sound, business purchase.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No one wanted it, so it's really affordable. And he had a vision. And I think that's the thing. As an artist, I feel like you must have crazy visions. Like, do you envision yourself being in Portland for a while? Or does it really depend on where you go to school?
It really depends on where I go to school, but I moved to Portland to get into medical school. And so if I could stay in Portland, that is the most ideal thing for me because I am kind of in the hub of like all of the industries that I'm like wanting to be in: the creative industry, the tech industry, and the medical field. And so, if I could, that like I would say the most affordable place and the best place with opportunities is Portland, because I could live in a 1-bedroom apartment in downtown for under $1,500, and I could go to school and I could do all the other stuff. I could animate and I could do all that. So
out here there is opportunity. You can come here and you can grind, you can hustle. I mean, I have the ability to live. People are like, why don't you leave? And it's like the cost of living. Like, for what I pay for my rent, my commute, there are no sales tax.
Right.
And because there's not a whole lot to do, I'm not spending a bunch of money socializing in excess, for a lot of events.
Yeah.
I can pick and choose which cultural events and which, like artistic events, which shows I want to go to. And I party still, but, within reason.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Be more strategic. And if I miss a whole bunch of Black people, if I miss like partying, I can just hop on a flight. The cost of me going and traveling, compounded over time, makes way more, dollars to me and way more sense.
Mm-hmm.
And where I live, and as I get older too, I love a good nap. I love like eating well. I love food. I love like the beauty of Portland,
Yeah.
And you're so close to everything. We're an hour and a half from the beach. We're like 45 minutes from wine country. We're like an hour and 15 from Mount Hood.
Right.
There's
like
so many things we can access, and it's a different kind of satisfaction you get when your surroundings are beautiful as well.
Yeah, just like going over the bridge to by the airport to Vancouver, you could see freaking Mount Hood, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, this is, where can you do that at?
I know.
Like, where else can
it's
you do that
crazy.
at?
From my office downtown, and I'm right across from City Hall. We have a few floors, and on the 19th floor, you can see Mount Hood. You can see Mount St. Helens in Washington, state, in Vancouver, Washington, and then you can also see Mount Adams. So you can see 3 different, volcanoes at the same time.
Yeah.
And it looks like a postcard. It doesn't look real, And that's the thing. We're in a valley. Portland's in a valley, so in any direction, you see like this beautiful silhouette of mountains in the background, and it feels different.
Yeah. It's, I think Black people in particular, should not sleep on the natural resources that are readily available at a cheap price. It's I think being out here, I always joke around that like being in Portland has added years to my life because the air is clean.
Ooh, the East Coast is hard.
Like yeah. Oh my gosh. Like even in like LA and places like that.
Exactly. So we have access to so much good food. I love, don't get me wrong, I love to eat, but we have great restaurants and we have access to a lot of whole food and healthy food. And a lot of restaurants have these like underground vegan menus. And mind you, I have vegan tendencies. I'm not vegan, but I can appreciate really good plant-based meals. Like they feel good, they taste good.
Yeah.
Even there's
just hit up Veggie Grill.
Feastly.
You could even go to Veggie Grill. Like that place is amazing.
Exactly. Well, there's a company called Feastly, I want to say, and they have these pop-up Nigerian dinners. but they're vegan Nigerian. And when you eat it, it doesn't taste vegan. It just tastes like African food.
Yep.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
It's delicious. It's flavorful, but you feel amazing. And I feel like nowhere else do you have that much access and opportunity to good food that makes you feel good, tastes good. And because we're residents, these restaurants have to perform every time. It's not a whole lot of tourists. You can't just have people, you don't have a high turnover of people coming in where you can kind of do an okay job in the kitchen. Out here, you have to do a great job or you will fail.
Yeah.
Because as we're seeing, restaurants are not super cash rich,
No, yeah, they're dropping like flies if they can't get customers in, and it's unfortunate. Yeah. And so
it is.
To sort of like wrap up the conversation, because it's definitely dropping some gems right now. What sort of things do you have going on? Are there any sort of like things you're excited about? I know we're in like Corona season, but are there things that like you're excited about that like you've been like looking forward to that are coming down the pipeline?
So, I'm one of those people that felt like 2020 is my year. I've worked really hard. Last year I paid off my student loans.
Ooh, congratulations!
My degree. Thank you. My degree cost $100,000. Studying abroad in Japan was expensive, but I value experiences. And so last year, my goal, I have different themes and goals every year. And last year, my goal was to focus on my finances. I wanted to pay off my debt. I wanted to increase my savings because I knew that I wanted to be able to invest. And I know I wanted to be able to buy property and I wanted to be able to do different things like that. And so coming to the new year, I was really trying to increase my streams of income. So just like you, I just had some interviews. And mind you, I love my job. I don't plan to leave my job, but I have the capacity for more in my evenings and my weekends. And I have different passions, my artistic side, my hospitality side. I love people and, events. And, I had conversations with different companies that met my schedule without compromising like my 9 to 5. And they understand where I work at, what I do. And I'd had the opportunity to like do events in different spaces in Portland and to help do some project management and just kind of have fun, create experiences for people. And I literally had an interview before I went to DC, about 2 weeks ago. And in the interview, I'm talking to this VP and I'm just like, yo, this job is perfect for me. And, it was really clear I was the only person that they really wanted to fill the role. But we both were sitting there just like, yo, if we're socially distancing, we can't really have events. And they wanted to start having events in the summer. And I'm just like, oh. So I think everybody's kind of in this limbo space. I wanted to do a little rental arbitrage, get into property management and, real estate investment. And I have the capacity to, but what's crazy is we're all in limbo.
Yeah.
I'm super grateful for what I have. I'm super grateful I'm not stuck with, a bunch of properties I need to like, Airbnb, because who's going to be traveling to Airbnb right now?
Yeah.
It's just
like you can't,
everything was so connected.
Like you literally can't, like some places you literally can't like get an Airbnb because there's a state issued mandate to stay home.
Yeah. And, so that's the thing is I will say, now how you talk to me in, January, February, early March, I was ready to invest in properties, to buy, to look at other opportunities to grow, professionally. And I still am. And so right now what I'm looking at is, okay, I've been doing a bunch of research, buying a bunch of stock. And, but mind you, I think the market may go down further. So really I have a reserve of when it's low, it's a good opportunity to buy because, unless you're retiring in this, decade, you've got time for things to turn around. So I'm looking at all these online Ivy League schools that are offering different certifications and degrees. My goal is to just gain all this knowledge. I'm in the HR and accounting world. So, just yesterday, I did a huge webinar on all these leaves, these new leave laws, extended and expanded leave laws for this emergency fix. I've been working with recruitment, employment, the workforce for over a decade now. So my passion is really people, my focus is on right now just growing my skills, learning these taxes, all this tax law, following the money. That's my world. Math and science is my original passion. But the reason I wanted to be a doctor when I was younger is because I wanted to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And helping their body seemed to be the most obvious thing to do, at that age. Now that I've, realized how important like financial literacy is and financial independence, I'm super passionate about this acronym called FIRE, which is like financially independent and retiring early. Growing wealth. How do you spread wealth in your community so you guys can strengthen that dollar? How can I gain skills that will last through this, this era that we're entering right now, technology, and which industries will thrive. So I'm just in a knowledge gathering space right now while I'm trying to, I'm working from home full time still, and I'm blessed and grateful for that. But I don't see this as a vacation. Whether you're working or not, this is not a vacation. I think this is an opportunity to hone in on essential skills, to do your research, to figure out what the next move is for you. Because the world is shifting underneath our feet at an exponential rate right now, and people will either get depressed, struggle, fall, slide off, trying to hold on. They may get relaxed or let their guard down and just chill. I challenge everybody to take this time. What are you passionate about? What skills do you have that are transferable? If you aren't working right now because your industry wasn't deemed essential, you still have skills. We've all been interacting with people and we've all been creating value. So it's our job to figure out what value can we create and how can we use that to our advantage, because we're not going to stay in this space forever.
No.
At some point, we're going to re-enter the world, and you're going to either enter with your feet running or you're going to trip and stumble trying to keep up,
Yeah. Or you're going to be like, oh, man, I wish I could have did this, or I wish I could have did that. And it's
we
like,
can't live in regrets right now.
Yeah.
We can't get distracted. It's shocking. A lot of us are experiencing shock. This is jarring. Our parents didn't prepare for this. Our parents' have never seen this. Our country has never seen this. The world is shook right now.
Oh, yeah.
And so while it's so distracting, take care of your mental health, take care of your physical health, and take care of your brain. Like, prepare yourself, keep studying, get your sleep, find a routine, find your passion, and don't get discouraged, and lean on your network. We all have cell phones and access to technology right now.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I love people and I like to meet people. I'm a connector. I like to meet new people. I like to connect with people. I love to see people thrive and grow together. But ironically, and no one believes me, but I'm really shy, I'm a shy extrovert. And so when I saw you post about your podcast, I was like, yeah, I like the comment because I was like, I support you. Not because I was volunteering. And I told you, I was like, put me at the bottom of the list because I'm shy.
Yeah.
This is my first time doing a podcast, which is probably why it was real rough because I was just nervous. But I appreciate that you're trying to connect people and you're highlighting, an area where there's a void. The Black community out here, people don't know where to go to connect to each other.
Yeah.
And things like these Zoom rooms and these chats and these podcasts and these projects, like these things are what are going to keep us connected as a community, because our community is no longer this geographical location. We have a global community of Black people. We have a network. The internet is a tool that we can seize. It can be a distraction, or you can use it and you can grow, your skills, you can grow your network, you can grow your potential, you can find opportunity, you can get curious, you can learn some languages. I mean, we all have different capacities, different, responsibilities, people we have to take care of and concerns, but be creative. I challenge people to be creative, find out how you can use it to your advantage. There's so many resources right now. So many things are either free, like if you're struggling financially, that people are negotiating with all of the utilities, because you got to think about it. Everybody's struggling. Even your rent, the building where you rent at, they have to pay rent too. Everybody's trying to eat right now. And so now we're going to see people become hopefully a community and start working with each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I do appreciate that you're doing this, because you and I haven't talked in a minute. And, it brings people hope. And also, I think it can inspire you to talk to people, use our skills. We've been on like social media, texting and, tweeting and all this. It's like, this is an opportunity to engage with people on a deeper level that life has made us too busy for. That is the one silver lining, I will say.
Yeah.
You'll see who you really want to like rock with. Who can you connect to? Who can you relate to? What value can you add? And in return, you'll find out you can, when people need each other, when they can lean on each other and they can work together, that's where you find opportunities are born. Ideas are going to be formed. Businesses can grow. Like right now is the time to hone in, buckle down, and focus, And it's going to be challenging because we're all in an unstable space, So we just have to find our community, find some foundation and get ready to jump off of it when everything starts to move again.
Yep.
Because we're not going to be stuck here forever.
Oh no. Yeah. This is going to be.
Our country can afford it. Our country
right?
can afford it.
It's like, it's going to be. This is going to be. I'm very curious to see how this sort of ends or finishes. Because it doesn't feel real. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where like me and my girlfriend are trying to learn game development, and the platform that we're using, they just made all their like resources and online stuff that you typically have to pay for. They made that stuff available for free for the next 3 months.
How dope is that? What an opportunity for you guys.
Yeah, and so I've been like, sitting. I was talking to her yesterday. I was like, this is something that we need to do. Like we need to take advantage of this because we're not going to get this opportunity again. And so
there are opportunities everywhere, and right now people need to seize them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get hungry for. Do what we were taught to do. Be hungry for information.
Yes.
Start searching. Don't just get distracted and fall into these places that distract you. And TV, Hulu, Netflix, Disney Plus, HBO. There's so many. Prime. You can chill and relax. You may need a break.
Oh yeah.
But start grinding. It's a job to get a job, and right now. There are so many opportunities you have to seize because you won't regret the advantages you took advantage of. You will regret the opportunities that you missed because you either didn't hear about it, you weren't exposed.
Yeah.
Or you thought you could do it later and you took it for granted.
Yep. And it's like, the time is now because, if you got laid off or whatever, I mean, you can't go apply for new jobs. It's like, where are you going to walk in for an interview for? Who's hiring? So it's like,
But maybe get on LinkedIn and start, building up that LinkedIn profile, connecting. Like, we got to find ways to be productive during the season because how often do we get a break in our lives? We're usually so busy.
Yeah, and typically,
the older you get, the busier you get.
Like in Portland, I know in Portland, like people have been like hungry for like a snow day, and now we got like. Now we got like a snow month. I'm not gonna lie, it was shocking, to get what you asked for. I needed some mental health days last year, and I was just like, every couple of weeks I just wanted like some time to kind of replenish and to like recalibrate, and now here I am with all this time. It's like I feel like it's hard though because on the one hand I'm aware of the seriousness of the situation, and other people aren't as fortunate, and so I'm concerned how serious this is. But also it's like, okay, on an individual level, what can I do? And besides just relax, Yeah, I mean,
and I'm like, no, this is an opportunity. I can't just take it for convenience. No,
Yeah.
Use it as a platform and jump off of this time. Leap into something exciting.
Yeah, it's just And so, final question: what is the blackest thing that you've done in Portland?
Oh my gosh! Oh, let me think. I've been at work too much. Definitely the blackest.
Yeah. What is the blackest thing you've done in Portland? Like. Pretty often I've just been saying, I've just been mentioning going to Rod's and and all the stuff that happens there.
What, you think, going to Rod?
Yeah, I always say just going to Rod's.
I mean, are you talking about socially? Because I'm thinking culturally. Even like as far as events, or as far as how many black people I've seen. Like, what do you mean by blackest?
Just the black in general. Just like, what is the blackest thing you've done, seen? What is the blackest experience you've had in Portland?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I do a lot. I socialize a lot. I enjoy experiences, and I enjoy meeting people and spending time with people. I will say that one of my favorite experiences last year, there was an R&B crawl, and I really liked that event because not only were there a lot of people there that had just moved out here that were transplants, but like there's so many Portland locals. I find it's really challenging to sometimes to see a lot of like locals and transplants. All the black people like together socializing and hearing about the same event.
Yeah.
And so it was just really dope to walk around the city of Portland. It's almost like the blackest, whitest thing because we're walking around Portland, but in a lot of my friends in bigger cities, they're always having bar crawls and they're always walking around. So it was dope to be around massive group of black people and just like walking around your friends and people you sit around, just
Huh. Okay.
I don't know. I know it's weird. I travel so much though. I do so much. I'm trying to think. I mean, I feel like there've been a lot of events this last year or two because all these DJs there's a lot of day parties. There was once one day party over at Century over the summertime. I just remember they were playing Burna Boy, and I was like, yo, this is Portland months, years for music that's popping right now to be, relevant out here. And it was just like, I'd been listening to that in Colombia with like all these black people from like, all over the country and in the Caribbean, and now I'm in Portland and I get to listen to the same music and be around West Indians and Caribbeans and Haitians and like Africans in Portland on this rooftop out here. And it almost felt like I was in Portland. I'm not gonna lie. And I was looking for my friends from Portland, because it's a day party. And I remember the sun was going down around like 9 o'clock because in the summertime the sun goes down super late out here.
Yeah, pretty much goes down like the next day.
Exactly, like 10 o'clock, like 9 or 10ish. You're like, is it down yet? I just remember that the sun was going down. It's beautiful outside. It's warm. It's all these people, and it's just like all these different brown faces. And I'm from Portland, so when I'm somewhere with a lot of black and brown people, and I don't recognize everybody, I'm like, okay, look at Portland growing, getting bigger. It's kind of refreshing, to know like we don't know everybody out here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's the blackest thing I've ever done, but I really enjoy seeing a lot more chocolate chips in the cookie, out here. Because it's not diverse. We don't have a diverse history. Our history is really, there's a lot huge racist, history in Portland. And so I do appreciate having lived in Chocolate City and having lived around the country, the world, to come back home to get to see so many brown faces and be from so many different places and backgrounds. It's been a joy. I've really enjoyed Portland the last few years. I've met some great people, even, the Futures, you, like, Rod. Rod had my birthday party last year.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the blackest things I did. It was like, my birthday party last year was so much fun. Not only did I get the west, the waterfront in Portland and the views, but I got to see, like, my friends from all these networks, people from Howard, people from Portland, people from high school, people that were out from all different industries and met them through all different types of ways, professionally and socially. And to watch them all interact with each other and to see them on the same vibration because they're all just good people. That was dope. That reminded me of like, that's probably one of the blackest things I did because like you just watch all of us interacting with each other and just no drama, food, drink, smiles, of course the dancing because that's what we do as a people. We love like our music. That's what I like to do and that's what I enjoyed. And I hope I see more of it. Once we, I hope that we all can not just survive this thing, but thrive coming out of this.
Yeah, like it's it's gonna be like this sort of like resurgence of just opportunities and events and and it's gonna be madness. It's just a matter of like when that will be. You know, when all this stuff dies down, like there's just gonna be, God forbid if it happens in the middle of July, like things are just gonna be wild. You know,
wild. But that's why we can't sleep on this opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, fortune favors the prepared, and right now, if you're still preparing and you're still preparing and you're grinding right now, you can be ready for when the world opens back up. When we're allowed to come back outside again, when outside opens back up, you know, you want to be ready.
Man, it's yeah. I feel
like that train is like our sound. Like time to end.
Yeah. So that's the thing about living in downtown by the waterfront, is that you got this freaking train that is just super obnoxious for no reason. But with that, you know, I appreciate you spending the time hopping on the podcast. You know, just telling us a little bit, just allowing us to get to know you a little bit better. And, you know,
for having me,
oh yeah,
you know?
definitely. You know, it's I think for me, I am fortunate enough to know a lot of Black people, or know Black people that know more Black people. And a lot of people are doing like amazing things that, you just wouldn't even like think of. You know,
exactly. It's so exciting. There's so much talent in Portland, and there's so much, you know, there's so much out here.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah. And so
I tell people, like, come visit. Every time someone comes to visit, like, I didn't know. I'm like, yo, I'm telling you, I'm sleep in Portland.
Yeah.
You gotta move out here, but just come out here.
Yeah.
It's like for yourself.
And so it's you know, and you know, I'm definitely a fortunate one to you know, kind of just be surrounded by a whole bunch of people kind of that are just doing a lot of great things. You know, it's definitely inspiring. Yeah. And so
I can't hear more about it on your podcast.
Oh yeah. Hey, you know, it's you know, we have Brandon on the podcast.
Hey.
And it's you know, it's like it's Brandon like we've never seen before.
Wow.
But yeah, you know,
sounds entertaining.
Yeah, it's you know, but you know, I definitely appreciate it. You know, definitely be safe. Try not to catch a case going outside. You know,
no, my throat felt a little, I felt a little, tickle my throat just now. I'm like, oh, I'm a little parched. I've been talking for an hour, so I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah.
Not the Rona. I need to go drink some water.
Oh yeah.
Go hydrate. Well, you be safe.
Yep.
And you and your girlfriend, just take care.
Yep, we'll try to do so. Be safe and everything, and yeah, I'll catch you on the flip side.
Yeah, talk to you later. Have a good night.
Okay, same to you. Again, I want to give another shout out to the Soul District Business Association and Flossom Media for helping me put this on. I'm your host, Stephen Christian. I mixed and mastered this podcast. I also did all the interviews, and if you see any of the stuff on YouTube, I put all that stuff together as well. With all the social distancing things right now, I'm producing this right out of my home studio. So if you have a chance, make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Medium at PDX Black Rose, which is PDX BLACKROSE. And if you're on Patreon, hit us up on there. We would love your support. If you don't do anything else, definitely rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher. And on top of that, be sure to share this with your friends. The purpose of this podcast is to highlight the movers and shakers in Portland that are doing things in the Black community. And by supporting this podcast, you're supporting the community as a whole. So with that being said, thank you for your time, and I'll catch you on the flip side. The intro song is brought to you by Andy Stokes. And the outro song is brought to you by Spring Gang from Epidemic Sound.